What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of Nebraska Cornhuskers Live. And it is finally Colorado week. And here to break it down with me is Chancellor Brewington. Chancellor is one of the first people that I worked with on this channel, collabed with. Now he's doing great things. Got his channel back up and running with film reviews over on 937 The Ticket. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hearing myself in the background because I forgot to close out my live stream. So give me 1 second. Chancellor, why don't you go ahead and tell the people where they can find you while I do this?
Yeah. I appreciate you having me on. It's been awesome to see your channel grow, Justin, and just see the elevation of it and the expansion. On Twitter, you can find me. That's probably where I'm most active at, Chancellor Brew 1. I put out maybe like a couple of tweets, a day, or maybe, one a day. But YouTube, I believe it's C Brew. If you just type in Brew reacting, you'll find it. The @ name is Chancellor Brewington Official. It's pretty much just like film breakdowns and just my take on what I see, kind of like from a player's perspective / coach's perspective.
Absolutely. And yeah, great stuff over there. And it was nice to see the channel resurrected. It was D&D last year, but we got it back up and running. So, everything's good and go over there. You're doing good views, good numbers already. So people like what they're seeing. We got a couple people in the chat here. What's going on, Jackson? Appreciate you hopping in. Justin, happy F Colorado weekend, everybody. I love it. Here for the free Labor Day leftover grillings. I have a hard time watching film breakdown, especially Nebraska film, because either super boring, Sebrew is exception. Yeah, you make it really easy to understand for people too, which is big time. So how come you took such a long break? You're probably just busy, I'd imagine.
Yeah, just a little busy, and I didn't, content-wise, I didn't really know where I was going to go, and I figured I would just take the whole football season just to do film breakdowns and just do it through film.
Oh yeah. Because that's going to get a lot of good traction. People want to see film and it broken down in a way that's easy to understand. And like I said, you do a good job of balancing the two. So. And Coach BA does some film breakdowns as well too. So, but awesome. Yeah, without further ado, let's just dive right into it. So, let's just start with Nebraska UTEP. What was your big takeaways from the UTEP game? What are some things that stood out to you in the positive front? And then we'll get into maybe some stuff that you think can be corrected.
Right. Initially, I had a few expectations on the offense side of the ball. I want to see an efficient game by Dylan Raiola. I just want to see him command the game, be poised, make good decisions, whether it's a check down. I talked about it on my channel. There was a time where they're probably on the 15-yard line. It was 3rd and 4. It was kind of like a smash concept with some backside, whatever the backside concept was. But he went through his progression, and progression just means looking at each route. He went through 1 through 4, and he checked it down to Emmett within like 1.5 seconds, right? And so the evolution of the quarterback play at Nebraska, we haven't had a quarterback who gets to his reads that fast and puts an accurate ball, right? Yep. So those are the type of things I wanted to see. Someone pointed out on the YouTube channel, shout out to whoever they were. There's a moment where, Dylan, there's someone on the ball and it was about to be a penalty, right? There's too many people on the ball and he got him off the ball. Those are the type of things I like to see. It shows the maturity, and I think Satterfield was talking about he called Dylan a surgeon today at one of the press conferences. Yeah, so that's what I like to see. And the wide receiver, we'll talk about it, of course, but the wide receiver room was probably what I was most excited about overall. Obviously, Dylan in his playmaking ability and his arm, of course, but the depth at receiver, we haven't seen this in a while. You got the starters from last year. You got A. Bullock, Jalen Lloyd, and Malachi. Malachi is probably going to redshirt. Alex Bullock got in a little later. They call him Big Lloyd. Lloyd, he'll carve out a role, but you still have Jakari. We saw him with the first quote unquote pass. Mm-hmm. And of course, Banks and Nair. And we still have and I really like the way Carter Nelson played too.
Yeah,
I really did. I think him and Bonner at that slot, sprinkling in IGC. I think IGC will carve out a role on the outside as well. That's my personal opinion. I think he's going to play inside, but I think he's going to be able to go outside too, and do some things there. And then obviously the 4 running backs. It will be interesting to see as the season goes on. There's going to be a person that rises to the top, because I believe it was like 11 carries, 10 carries, 7 carries, and like 6 carries. It was somewhere around there, right? Yeah. You can't do that in Big Ten play. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? There's going to be at least one guy. My personal opinion, probably Dante or Emmett, that rises to the top. I think Ramir overall will have a role on this offense. I don't think he's going to be the guy to be the 4th guy. I think he's always going to be a third down back, a reliable third down back, good in pass pro, can pick up blitzes, is smart, and is able to catch the ball at the backfield. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts, and real positive. I'm real positive on the offensive side.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was one of those things where, I did a Colorado, Nebraska preview yesterday, and, in a lot of ways, people were asking for me to pick apart, what was wrong in the game. And there wasn't a lot of wrong, unless we want to be really nitpicky, right? Of course, there are things that we can do better, but you can't be upset with 507 yards of total offense. And, your star quarterback only having to play 2.5 quarters, 11, I think 8 running backs, I counted 8 running backs got a touch. And wow. I think 11 different people caught a pass. So it was one of those things where it's like, we really got to see some of the depth, and also they, some of these guys buried deep on the depth chart got some valuable playing time too. But yeah, kind of what you're saying about the wide receivers, it's weird to think about last year. Like, we had no true one receiver really, like, that was healthy for most of the season. And now we got 2 guys that we feel like can both take over a game, with Isaiah Nair and Jamal Banks. It's like, pick your poison with those 2, right? And then with Jamal Banks, what I said about him, I thought he could be a top 15 wide receiver in college football. Who do you think in that wide receiver core, who do you think is going to be the guy going forward? I still hold that it's Banks most likely, just because I think he's going to be the most consistent target when the going gets tough. We need a for sure catch in, third down in the red zone. What do you think about the kind of arms race of the wide receiver room?
Yeah, so off the top of my head, I like the way Banks plays. I really do. I agree with you that he'll carve out a really big role. I think personally, he'll probably rise to the top, but I think this will be 1A, 1B Nair. But the thing I'm noticing with this offense, Justin, is that it's not necessarily it's not an offense we've seen, and people have to understand this, that the philosophy that they're approaching their defense with the 3-3-5. They're approaching the offense with the same philosophy. You see, an average Big Ten game last year, there's probably 23, 24 guys that played on defense, right? Yep. What we're seeing on offense is the same thing. 4 running backs, obviously 5 O-linemen, 3 tight ends play. This is just the ones. You saw Carter Nelson and Bonner get in with the ones. You saw 4 different receivers. You saw Jakari get in there. So there's like 20, and we had a fullback too. So there's like, 20 plus guys with the ones. So with this receiver room specifically, I think Bonner is going to play a huge role. We didn't see much of him. There's, screen pass here, a flat route, a couple things. But moving forward, I think this offense is specifically, it's a system. I don't think it's a one player guy. I think it's a system in which they're able to plug in people into the system, and it's almost, and I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, Justin, but the way the Chiefs have their system, right?
Yeah.
I have to do this. Okay. Chiefs have their system, right?
Yeah.
And so you can just plug in pieces. Why? Because Mahomes is so reliable, and he's anticipating people getting open. So it's all about getting to the right spots, right? And I believe that this is what they're creating. I'm not saying the Chiefs. I'm just saying that type of system. I didn't know who else to compare it to, but no, I think Bonner's gonna surprise some people. I really do. There are some moments where he was condensed doing some like kind of tight end stuff, and that kind of sparked my mind. I'm like, hold on. Are they about to, mix him up and like, put him at tight end sometimes, create some personnel matchups, we could see a lot with that, but I'm excited.
Yeah, that's where the advantage of him playing fullback came in, you know, because he can do the dirty work. Like he knows how to get in there and block, you know, and be a reliable. And that's where he's also going to be key in the wide receiver room. If we need somebody on the edge to really kind of get a block down or something like that, he's going to be a good guy to have out there. But yeah, I do like what you said about kind of the offense. And I've also heard like the San Francisco 49ers kind of style where it's just
That's
like
a good one.
Like positionless style of offense. And like you said, it's a lot of plug and play. Like Mahomes is set up for success in a lot of ways because Andy Reid schemes that up. Like a lot of the times Mahomes passes are to wide open guys. And like he does make throws, but Andy Reid does a good job of scheming that up. So that's a good point with the scheme. And it's a matter of just probably like there's not going to be one guy to key in on. It's going to ride the hot hand and whoever's open. Like it's just a matter of just getting guys open, getting guys in space, and finding whoever that is. So let's just move over to the defensive side of the ball, I guess. And, you know, what were some of the people that stood out to you? Ty Robinson, of course, looked explosive. Nash looked great. You know, really overall, just a sound performance by the defense. That one little slip up on the long touchdown by Hartzog, but he recovered, got an interception late. And I don't really think he misplayed that all too bad. I think he may have just mistimed it a little bit and maybe not got himself in the best position. But he didn't get burnt on that or anything like that. And then we had later on Sierra Wright looked like he potentially got his feet tangled up and kind of tripped down the sideline. So I'm not too concerned about stuff like that. But what is your overall takeaways from the defense?
Talking about the MC, he's one of them guys that just does not get fazed by anything. Like I don't, you know, they talk about Dylan being composed and stuff. Like there's a couple freshmen, you know, every couple years, you know, you don't get freshmen like this all the time, but MC came in like that is what I'm trying to say. He came in as a freshman, super composed. So when I see MC kind of in that position, I'm like, okay, I'm glad that happened earlier in the year to know, you know, that is the not the weakest part of the defense. I'm not saying he's the weakest, but I am saying if there was a point to attack in the defense, it would be that slot corner. Just because the leverage he plays, it's you see him 8 yards off. And I have to just say this as a disclaimer: playing 8 yards off in the slot is one of the hardest things to do in college football. Or in football in general. It's completely different than going out and playing where Tommy Hill and Marquise are, you know, outside corners press, and even playing off there. It's completely different. As far as people that surprised me or impressed me, I thought Mekhi Gaber played really good. I thought MJ Sherman played good. I thought Prince Will came. Oh yeah, there we go, Gaber. Yep. I thought Prince Will played good. I think him and MJ are going to be real dynamic. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more Prince Will moving forward. I mean, Giff will be our free hitter. We didn't really see too much of Giff, but I don't think it was a game where, you know, it was a bunch of 3 and outs. Yeah, it was a bunch of 3 and outs. I thought, who else did I think? I mean, of course, Ty. I love I mean, I don't love it for the offense, but when they put him as the key read player on the option, like him being the backside, I'm like, why are y'all doing this? Like y'all are this is terrible. But that he caused that safety, and obviously Nash was killing the center the whole game, like it just abusing him. So and it will be fun. I'll probably drop it tomorrow, but. The breakdown of NDSU, I'm going to go in depth a little bit. The way NDSU's, noses or three techs, whatever you want to call it, was attacking their center, like Nash is going to have a field day. He's going to have a field day. I'm expecting him to have a really, really big game based on what I've been seeing and stuff like that. I thought Jamari played good, but this is the game where our edges, I'm speaking ahead a little bit, our edges are going to have to be super sound. What I mean sound is if they have contained, they got contained. Like there's no like that you can't have a slip up, because when Shador's is best is when he gets outside the pocket. That's where he's best. And we'll get into that. I'm sorry, I moved ahead. But safety wise, I thought Deshaun played good. I really like the way Buford plays. It looks like he got his confidence there. Like it's not like a thing where and Buford isn't the guy that would do this. But he seems super confident. He seems super, you know, he came in as a freshman, moved to safety, but it looks like he got his feet wet and is playing a high level ball right now.
Absolutely. And Mike, I appreciate the $10. And as always, super chats are on. Of course, I'm bad at asking for money, so I don't really ever talk about it. Super chats are on. Also, memberships are on. I just started memberships. $2.99 tier is the Big Red Loyalists. The second tier is going to be the Black Shirt Brigade. Third tier is the 5-star Corn Connoisseurs. But we'll have perks for all of the members. I'm winding those out, getting your emojis and stuff like that ready, and then all the perks ironed out that I want to have for the season, so that way y'all can get the most out of your money when you do sign up for those. So yeah, but I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you so much for the $10. And why MC for Hartzog? Middle name? Cornhusker Corner was asking.
I don't. Oh, I was calling it MC. I don't know. MC. I don't know. Probably just Malcolm. They just abbreviate the Malcolm.
That's what I just assumed, Malcolm. Do you think Nebraska will play more zone man or a mix against Colorado's 3 talented wide receivers? Because I know they want to run man, but they're going to have to bracket those wide receivers pretty well. Yeah,
I think it's going to be. I think they're going to switch up they got to switch up the game plan. It's going to be probably some completely new that. Just looking back at last year, and it's going to be something new. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, that was another thing too. But they didn't have to show a whole lot in the game this weekend too. So we're going to see a lot of concepts we didn't see even. Polar Bear, have fun with Hank, new starting center Saturday. All right, so we can go over and just move it over into Colorado, and your takeaways on overall what you thought from the North Dakota State game, and where do you think Colorado matches up in this against Nebraska? Where they match up well? What do you think they did poorly?
Yeah, it's tough because I look at I can't really. It's hard for me to gauge where North Dakota State was, like, their level of play. Like, if we go and play North Dakota State, I don't think it's a close game by no means. I didn't see like crazy talent. I didn't see crazy, they executed pretty well. They had a good O-line for the most part. North Dakota State did. And Colorado's O-line. I think Colorado's O-line maybe in some cases got worse. But Shador took way too many hits for the first game. I want to say he took I saw like 5 really, really big hits. Yes. But the thing is, he took the hit and made the throw. That's what type of player he is. He doesn't turn down anything. So it's going to be interesting there. Colorado on defense it will be fun to see their adjustments because they can't come out and play man against Nebraska. It will be a field day, or they will, and they'll disrupt some timing. But I mean, Nebraska put too much on film last week, saying that our receivers are better than your DBs, and you can't come up and press us. And so when I see Banks and Nair on the outside, you got Travis Hunter. I think Travis Hunter is a good athlete. I really do. I think he's a spectacular athlete. I think he's a better receiver than corner. But if he's going to play, I think he took off 3 snaps on, last Friday or last Thursday. If you do that against Nebraska, they're going to have a well-equipped game plan to make sure he's tired on offense, whether it's running into him, guys running him off, guys being physical with him. So I personally think it's, prediction wise, I think it's probably around the 2-score margin, going Nebraska being the favorite, probably like -14, -17. But the biggest thing for Nebraska is making sure Shador stays inside the pocket, pressuring him, playing good coverage. They're going to hit some good big plays. It's not going to be a thing where they don't hit a big play. They're going to get a big play. Jimmy Horn, Stewart, and Travis Hunter, and they got another dude, Shepard. They got 4 good weapons, good running back as well. But their defense, I mean, we should be able to gash them for whatever we want to run. We should be able to run. O-line's playing fantastic. Whatever pass concept we want to get to, obviously in the confinements of coverage to concept. But I mean, everything should hit. So it's really just an execution game at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things that Nebraska did do well is execute. And also, I think Colorado just had some undisciplined stuff as well. A lot of late hits and some PIs that could have been called that maybe weren't. I don't necessarily make like too big of a deal about those after the game, but like there was a lot of things that could have been called that weren't. And then as well, just like, talking in my preview yesterday, one of the things that I mentioned was, and I could have worded it better, but I said they didn't have depth at receiver. What I meant is they didn't show a lot of depth at receiver against North Dakota State. It was very top heavy, with Hunter and Horn, and then you had somebody else had 5 catches, I believe. But outside of that, it was just 1 or 2 catches. I think 8 people caught a ball. 11 people from Nebraska caught a ball. I just think they're going to need more people to step up than that, and even to a point, like you said before, a long time ago, we did or it was on one of your film breakdowns, but to your point about the motions, being able to get him running and moving in motions too on the defensive side of the ball, to just try to, get him tired. That's going to be big. And also it's a different level of physicality. Like he's dealing with some big boys now that can really, really hit him. And my takeaway from the game, I said this right after the game, is his awareness to me is what needs the most work, because just situational awareness, just know when to slide on your runs and lift the fight another down, I guess, because there was times where, the throw couldn't be made but he was getting hit like on his underneath his throwing arm as well. So it's a dangerous game to play this early in the season. And yeah, with Travis Hunter playing as much as he did, it's going to be really tough for him because he's a slight framed guy. So I think it'll be tough for him with the physicality that they're going to, use. But yeah, I guess we can go ahead and transition this over into kind of like a preview, and what do you think that, kind of is Nebraska's biggest advantage? Probably the run game, I would say. But other than that, what are some advantages that Nebraska has? And, what are some that Colorado has? I did a position by position grade, and I gave Colorado quarterback and wide receiver, but I basically gave everything else to Nebraska.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I would definitely give him quarterback. Receiver wise, yeah, I mean, you can. It's crazy, but you can make an argument for Nebraska. You know what I'm saying? Now, but to be safe, of course, Colorado has the firepower. But I mean, I just look back to last year. So what's going on right now with the team? I guarantee they're watching last year and like, okay, how did they beat us? It's the same type of defense, whatever. But I look at it, I'm like, well, y'all aren't the same defense. Yeah. Just 3 weeks later from that game, y'all probably beat them. You know what I'm saying? So they've identified who they are as a defense. They schematic wise, everyone knows what role they play. There's guys are comfortable, guys are confident. So it's a completely different matchup. I mean, I'm sure as a player, Colorado players are probably like, this is the same with Nebraska, or they know the deal. You know what I'm saying? Yep. But one thing I wanted to touch on before was Shedeur is going to take risks. That we've seen it. We've seen it time after time. And so ball is going to be up in the air. Tommy Hill is going to have some opportunities to make plays. We're going to see if the Tommy Hill Travis Hunter matchup. I can't wait to see that, and him go over and see Buford over there to see what they do. Malcolm's going to have his hands full, but I know he's ready for it. It's going to be a thing where that will be the part. And if I'm called, where that would be the piece where I'm attacking. Would be Malcolm when he's playing man, just because it's so hard. It's not because Malcolm's not good or anything. It's just so hard to defend. Yeah. So there's a time late game against North Dakota State. Shedeur is like they're up, and he has an opportunity to just hand the ball off, and he instead throws the RPO out, and it's really a not smart situation. It's situational football. It's really dumb to do that, right? Yeah. But that just goes to show like the character of Shedeur, meaning like he's willing to bet on his arm every single time. So yeah, every single time. So that's why the defense needs to get home as fast. I want to see a bunch of coverage sacks. I want to see pressures, QB hurries. I want to see I want to see James Williams get in there, get us like I want to see like a bunch of different guys get in there. I want to see Polar Bear attack that center. So yeah, it's gonna be a time for sure.
And 8 sacks, I believe, last year in last year's game versus Colorado. and like you said, just a completely different defense this year. Everybody trusts each other. And another thing too is just the physicality difference and trusting the guy next to you. I think it's another thing that they built as the season went along is like if you know the guy next to you is going to do his job, then that puts less pressure on you. You can just focus on your responsibility, you know, when you trust the guys around you to be where they need to be. And so that's, you know, that's a very good point. You know, going over, you know, talking about just kind of like what you were talking about with the with the players and the pre-game hype and stuff like that with what Matt Rule was saying too about, you know, focusing on his team, not worried about, you know, what is it kind of like just from a player's perspective inside a locker room when you're coming into a big game like this and how much of the outside noise actually gets in and what's kind of like the how do they keep guys on track?
Yeah, so unless you delete Twitter, I mean, you're going to see everything. Yeah. Like everyone sees everything, and people. I mean, I don't know how it is now, but I'm sure that people are showing people like, hey, you know, Dion said this, or Shador said this, or whatever. Like that type of things happen. The biggest thing is leadership on the team. If the older guys feed into it, first of all, if the coaches feed into it. They're going to transfer it over to leaders, and the leaders are going to transfer over to like the younger guys, and vice versa as well. So making sure the leadership is sound and just making sure everyone's focused on football. Today was Tuesday. They probably went through a whole 3-hour padded practice where they're hitting. It's the hardest day of the week. Probably it's usually and Tuesday you're going through literally every big play that North Dakota on offense, North Dakota State hit, and you're literally just getting a bunch of stuff on film. And so that's where the mindset should be, is just making sure the game plan is dialed. I remember like playing Nebraska versus Michigan in 2021, like that game, like going into that was like, man, like, College Game Day going to be here, game of the week, like all this different stuff. Right. There's hype that goes into it, but once you have like a leader or a coach or someone on the team able to like use that energy and transfer it into the work that y'all put in during the week, like that's where the gold strikes, is when you take the energy for the game, you don't give it back to the Colorado and the way you speak and all this different stuff. You transfer it into the game, transfer it into your development throughout the week, and then that's when the big plays happen. That's when the execution happens on Saturday.
Yeah, no, exactly. And just kind of some of the takeaways that I had too. And another thing too, I don't know if you saw the comments today. I believe, man, I'm trying to remember who it was. It was MJ Sherman. I can't remember, but they asked a question about Shador and Dylan Raiola, how about they can throw both of the ball, and he said something along the lines of he said, don't do that. He's like, what you talking about? He said, putting Shador and Dylan in the same category. He said Dylan's different. He said in what way? He said he's a dog. So like
oh my gosh,
yeah, that's what MJ Sherman said today.
Oh boy.
There's some if they're looking for something, there's something right there.
Right.
To get them going. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But and Matt Rule talking about how that atmosphere, how he wants it to be Nebraska nice on Sunday. We can be Nebraska nice on Sunday, but he wants a really raucous atmosphere. How do you expect that place to be? And do you think this is probably going to be like one of the biggest environments? Because I know they were talking about the UTEP game being one of the most exciting, like in terms of just overall feel about the game and crowd involvement that they've had in a while. Did you kind of, I don't know, you probably weren't at the game, but did you kind of see that similar thing? Or and what is it truly? What is the home field advantage? Like how much of an advantage is having a crazy atmosphere like that? Like I know in terms of hearing and stuff like that, but what is the advantage really like in playing in that type of environment?
Yeah, this is going to be, I'm trying to think back, last 3-4 years. I mean, the last probably 6 or
Oregon 2016. That's what I was thinking.
I think Oregon pulled away, I believe.
The Oregon
or
2016,
Nebraska?
Tarmy Armstrong ran that long
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
touchdown. Yeah, and we stopped
yeah.
that one on third down.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that, but it's going to be, I say it's going to be way bigger than that, just because people are seeing hope. You know what I'm saying? There's hope. The city of Lincoln is electric right now. I'm telling you, like just walking downtown, and it's electric, and I can already tell people are coming in town, and there's going to be a bunch of celebrities at this game. There's going to be, star power everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So every alumni for Nebraska is going to be in town. Like, so there's a bunch of hype around this game, rightfully so. But the way Dylan's play and the offense, and obviously the added in component with the defense and the culture that Matt Rule's creating, you put all that together, the fans are excited, then you throw a night game on top of it. And people, you've been to a night game before?
Have I? So I've been to one. It was Ohio State college game day. Justin Fields was a quarterback, and we got our doors blown off.
Yeah, so there you go. So this is going to be a experience for literally the fourth quarter light show. Like this is going to be a memorable game for years and years and years to come. I would say, in the last 10 years, probably this is one of the more anticipated Nebraska games that we've seen. So this is going to get national attention. ESPN going to cover, everyone going to cover, TMZ probably going to cover it. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone's going to cover it. So as a player going into that environment, if you're Colorado, Shador and Travis and all them boys, for some players, they can feed off the energy and it helps them and makes them perform better. But I would say, 70% of players, it adds a mental component to where, the crowd gets loud on offense for them. And, they got to tune into the play call, the play clock, all this different stuff. So I expect to see some procedural stuff. Make sure they got to make sure they quiet when Nebraska out there though. But
I think our fan base is smart enough, at least for the most part. I don't know when they're drinking all day, but we'll see.
Right. Yeah. Especially because it's night game. They're going to be, but it's going to be a huge advantage, especially it being a night game.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That place is going to be rocking. I went to the game in Oklahoma right after Scott Frost got fired in 22. And I mean, that was the game Dylan Gabriel was talking about, where he said that was one of the most, like that. He said that was up there with OU Texas, and Nebraska was 1-2 on that game. And, just to come off firing Frost. And so, and even that game was kind of crazy up until that point. He was just talking about how when you're in that stadium, he said the stadiums that really you can't see out of are the ones that are the hardest to play in, because he's like, when you're in there, you're in there. So that's another aspect to it too. And I just don't think that they've been in an environment like they're going to see Saturday. And just let's going back over to kind of and let's get in some comments here. We got some Colorado trolls too. So
there we go.
So let's see here. A Buffs Dynasty. The Colorado practice video looked a little depressing start of the week. Let's see. Watch Prime's presser today, gave accolades. The Buffaloes are going down. Colorado's 3 players and no defense. We'll get into that in just a second. They don't chant a boxer's name for no reason, just in the same effect. Colorado player injured Adrian Shiloh. Okay, so and then this one. You cannot compare guys beating UTEP to beating North Dakota State. North Dakota State is in a first year head coach and transitioning to an offensive program. Not only that, they were missing their defensive lineman. I'm pretty sure one of their better defensive backs. So that they won 9 games last year and finished in the, I think, 4th. They made a run to the playoffs, finished 4th, but it's not the same North Dakota State team that we've seen in the past. And again, at the end of the day, I believe, who was it? I think somebody played the number 1 team in the FCS and dominated them. It wasn't even a good team. Was it? I can't remember who it was. Arkansas State, Oklahoma State, somebody like that. But that they showed how you should handle an FCS team. And at the end of the day, an FCS team is an undersized, team that, they prided themselves on physicality, and they still play a physical brand of football, but they don't have the size, the athletes, or the same physicality level as Nebraska. And what Nebraska did to UTEP wasn't even the worst of what they could do. That was they went out there and showed flash for a quarter and a half and then pulled Raiola out. So I don't understand the narrative here about because before the game, whenever people were talking about North Dakota State being a trap game for Colorado fans, they were talking about how bad North Dakota State was and how people are overhyping them, and now it's kind of flipped around. But yeah, so that's neither here nor there. Let's go. There's a podcast showing PFF grades for 78. I think he laid on the keyboard there for a second, so I'm kind of confused. But Dylan Raiola, I don't know if you saw Dylan Raiola graded out by PFF as the top debut for a freshman quarterback since 2018. And I would imagine that was maybe Trevor Lawrence in 2018. So, all right. So let me just, there's a lot of comments in here, but let's just go ahead and move forward to Nebraska. Just a little bit of the game preview, X's and O's. So, when we're talking about Colorado's offensive line earlier, one thing I noticed about their offensive line is, off the outsides, they were letting the edge rushers get a little deep into the backfield at many occasions before they were kind of getting out and really extending on them, getting their punch on them and getting their arms on them. They were kind of letting them get into the backfield. Do you, and North Dakota State's ends were very, compared to like Ty, it's a whole different size game and strength game. So with that offensive line to defensive line matchup, like, do you think there's a realistic shot of Colorado being able to keep Nebraska's edge rushers at bay?
Yeah, unless they get the flu and they don't play. I mean, I don't see them containing them. I think literally the only way that offense the only way they benefit from that. Shedeur could possibly use the D-line's pressure against them. They could scheme up some, draw and some screen stuff, get them rushing upfield, stuff like that. But like the way Colorado, this is what I want people to understand, is that the way Colorado's offense is, like, they're going to be in so many obvious pass downs because they don't have a run game for real. And everything is kind of RPO based and stuff like that. So when you're getting obvious pass downs, it's kind of send all dogs, send the dogs, get home, play coverage behind it. So we're going to be in those positions, 75% of the time, where we got to get off the field on third down. Third down is going to be the key to this. If there's a few keys to this game, I would say containing Shedeur, making sure he stay inside the pocket, and getting off the field on third down. Those are like 1A, 1B for me, because we did and shout out to the guys. They did a fantastic job getting off the field on third down. But and that's an improvement from last year. I heard Tony White say that's what he wanted to focus on, and they executed that. So moving forward, Saturday, I expect pressure. I expect different simulated pressure. I expect, them sending the jacks and then sending, corner blitz sometimes, then mixing it up. Like, I want to see real, different stunts up front. I want to see a, 5-down package where you bring in, you got P. Will or MJ on the outside. You got James Williams. You got, Ty Nash and Jamari inside. So I want to see that 50 front. I'm anticipating it. I don't think we saw it much against Nebraska. I don't believe we saw that. Those are like my first kind of takeaways. Yeah.
And then another thing too, defensive on the for offensively for Colorado, but defensively for Nebraska, where there's a uniqueness in the 3-3-5, right, where you can drop 8-minute coverage, if you want to.
Right.
How hard do you think it's going to be? I feel like Colorado may have some success in the open field, but when it gets to really that kind of that red zone area, I don't see that as very successful for them. Do you kind of see that being the same way? Once you get a lot of defensive backs, and especially if our pass rush can generate a rush with 4 people or something like that, when you drop 7 into coverage, do you see that as being an issue? Did you kind of notice any of that for North Dakota State?
Yeah, I think that's where you get creative with the jack position, where you send him, because you got your 3 down with Nash, Ty, and Jamari. Where you send P. Will and MJ. Are you sending them an A gap? Are you sending them off the edge? Are you doing a some type of simulated pressure with him and Makai? Like, those are the different ways you can get creative to get home versus pressure. Maybe send the pressure from this side and dropping Jamari MJ into a QB spy. Like those are the type of things I want to see. But like you said, being able to play, if they can get home with 3, this game won't be close. If they get home with 4, this game won't be close. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. I think, I don't believe the run game is going to be an issue to stopping Colorado's run game. I don't believe so. I think the main thing will be, can they get home with 3 when they need to? Can they get home with 3, or can they at least get pressure, right? Cause some type of problem. And when we send for, I don't need a sack all the time, but do you get a hurry? Do you get him flustered? Do you get him stepping up and, having to, not go through his full progression? Because if you allow the receivers to get to the top of their routes or the designated depth, and you allow Shedeur to go through all his progressions, it's going to be a really long game. And to put on top of it, if you give him, 5 seconds outside the pocket, that's where he's best. Like I said, that's where he's best. So we got to eliminate that. Yeah.
Don't let him kind of create plays. Yeah. Cause like you said, when he's creating, that's when he has that confidence to be able to rip it downfield and trust his guys to get under. So, and another thing too, defensively for Colorado that they may struggle with, that I saw week 1 against North Dakota State, their linebackers seemed to be out of position a lot. It seemed like they were very undisciplined with their eyes, and that seemed to get them out of position sometimes. Like they were just kind of over pursuing, outside of their zone, and or just kind of really almost having mental lapses defensively. It seemed like they tightened it up a little bit more in the second half. But did you see that from their linebacker core, their second level?
Who, Nebraska's?
No, for Colorado.
Yeah, I forget which player. They have a really good runs real well. One of their backers is pretty good. I forget his name. He had a decent game, but other than that, I'm not seeing too much of a real runs. You said what?
The speed either. There's not a lot of speed in the linebacker core. Yeah.
So I mean, being able to hit these edges and when we run the outside zone, counter trap, whatever we're running, be able to outrun guys, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Physicality, I don't believe that's going to be a problem. Yeah. The only thing is just literally just getting a body on a body. Like that's it. This game is going to be, people are going to going to blow it up out of proportion, but it's going to be such a simple game. It's going to be so simple because of the talent. The talent is kind of lopsided on offense, so the only thing to combat that is just execution on the other offensive side of the ball. And I think obviously Dylan, I believe, will play this whole game. I believe he's going to throw probably 35 balls. The one thing maybe even more, probably like 38, closer to 40. The one thing I want to see though is a super established run game early. And I don't mean like we have to, pound the rock that everyone says. Those days with Dylan are kind of over, I would say, getting in these heavy personnels, and that's over. Like you have a generational quarterback. You don't need to do that anymore. But you do need to, when you run the ball, you need to get 4. You need to get 5. And then, if you consistently get 4 and 5, that's when the 17 yards breakthrough. That's when the Emmett Johnson 25-yard breakthrough. So that's kind of where I see the offense. That's kind of where I see the need here, because I don't think Colorado's going to stop the run. The O-line's playing way too good right now. And shout out to Coach Raiola for that, because they look super polished. We saw many
If you want to go into the D-line versus O-line matchup, that was my next thing that I wanted to touch on. So yeah, dive into that for me.
Yeah, so I saw plenty of times, and I was so encouraged by it. It was like glue, man. And I know people are gonna say, yeah, it's UTEP's D-line, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's first game of the year. There's always slip-ups. I didn't see one protection leak. We saw Dylan get hit that one time. I don't remember the situation. I believe it was some type of RPO type thing. I don't remember what it was, but other than that, I thought Ben Hart played good. I thought Corcoran. Turner. I thought Turner played good, and everyone's, how's Turner going to play? Whatever. I thought Turner played good. I thought the new guy from Florida played good. I thought Justin Evans played good. I thought Ben Scott played really good. I thought Justin Evans played really good, actually,
Yes.
especially in the run game. Just his awareness. You know, he's a former center, so being a former center, you got to know all the checks, calls, all the pressures, indicators, all that stuff. So him moving over to guard, it's like you got two centers up there, knowledge wise, right? And being able to transfer knowledge, communicate, all that stuff. So yeah, I saw their interior, their 3-tech. He's usually to the field. One of their D linemen I thought he was decent. I didn't see like anything where I was like, wow, like, this guy's like, special. Obviously they got Coach Sapp, Warren Sapp, coaching them. So I expect them to do some different things. I expect them to come out in some different stunts, some different pressures that put some pressure on the O-line, maybe some tricks up their sleeves, but I don't see anything on the D-line or even linebackers or even DBs, just the whole defense in general, that it's like, we can't do this because they're going to stop it. It's going to be the only thing that's going to stop the offenses themselves this week.
Yeah. And another thing that I saw from their defensive line too, is they would, even sometimes when they would collapse the pocket, it was like they were having a hard time getting off blocks too. So like that was another thing that I saw from a few times, is when they did get in the backfield, they just, even when they had, the tackles on their heels, it seemed like they were still having trouble, getting off the blocks and really getting to the quarterback. And that allowed him to get some extra room to escape and really, have success on the ground as well. And so I guess we got 15 minutes. So I guess we can go into a little bit of, what things for Nebraska, of course, what does Nebraska's game plan need to be to ensure that they win this game? And of course, I think you've kind of alluded to that, where, it's one of those things where I think you were kind of saying, they don't need to just go heavy run, but it does need to be a balance there early on, invest in that run, and that'll kind of wear at that, Colorado defensive line. And then as the game goes on too, that'll open up the pass a lot more. Do you think offensively that's the recipe for success in this game?
Yeah, I do. I believe it's, you don't ease Dylan into anything. You let him go. We still got to take in consideration he's still a freshman, so there might be a freshman moment. There might be. You know what I'm saying? This is the first, for this to be your second game of college football. Like, this is probably one of the biggest environments, all of those guys on the field ever played in, right? So to have that going into your second game, but I believe it's probably going to be like a 65-35 split, 65 pass, 35 run. But when the 35, probably 60-40. I expect a lot of plays on offense. I believe that the defense is either going to give up a big play or they're going to get them off the field on third down. I don't think there's going to be these long drives. I think that's where Nebraska's advantage is, because the consistency with the offense is there. Shedeur is looking for a big play every time. Yeah. So it's not a thing where he's trying to check down and like we see with Raiola and those type of quarterbacks, kind of like, checking his way down the field, he's going 10-play drive, whatever. Shedeur wants the big play. He wants a big play, and I can't blame him for that. But there's times for sure where that's not needed. Obviously, we need to make sure we don't turn the ball over, win the turnover battle. When the ball is in the air on defense, we need to come down with some picks. There's going to be plenty of opportunities. Last year, Javen Wright could have had 2 last year. I believe there was another. I think Quentin Newsome could have had one. Like, this is all first half stuff. So there's going to be opportunities. The ball is going to be in the air. He's going to throw the ball probably 45, 40 times. So yeah, I would say turnover margin, getting home with 4, pass rush, establishing a run, executing. Obviously, Dylan executing, right? Because if the quarterback executes, you win the game. And then, I mean, using the crowd to the advantage. Yep,
absolutely. And to your point, kind of about them scoring quick, North Dakota State won the time of possession battle 36 minutes to 23 minutes. And North Dakota State finished with 3 more first downs as well. So 449 yards of offense for them. Xavier coming in here. Listen, I understand the hate, but keep it real. I'm not on here saying Colorado's going to beat Nebraska. What I'm saying is going to be a good game, and that I'm cool with that. I'm fine as long as
it's going to be a good game.
If people don't come in here and troll and stuff like that, I'm good with Colorado fans being here. No disrespect at all. We're just here trying to break down the football. So like, yeah, if y'all come in here, be cool. We're perfectly fine with that. So I appreciate you hopping in here and being respectful in that regard. So I appreciate that, Xavier. Thanks, man. And I'll try not to pull up the disrespectful comments towards Colorado too. Elite at finding gaps and end of routes. Pressure on Sanders isn't good enough. You have to impede his ability to throw either by contact or pulling throwing lanes. What's your take on that? So he says Hunter and Horn are elite at finding gaps at the end of routes. Pressure on Sanders isn't good enough. You have to impede his ability to throw either by contact or plug throwing lanes. Well, pressure would be contact too.
Yeah, I don't think they're elite at finding gaps. I think they're just fast. So they just what happens, they just stretch the field and they get to their spots faster. So Shedeur technically doesn't need as much time because of that. But I mean, I think if you sack the quarterback, the play's over. So
I feel like there's a very almost like a Tyreek Hill style to like how I view their offense, and almost just like you were saying, it's just like, but like not Tyreek, of course, let's not put it that way, but just in terms of the fast-paced offense. And that's why also I think Nebraska has a little bit of an advantage just in their size at defensive back. Tommy Hill put on 20 pounds, and so he's going to be strong and physical too, and that's another aspect that's going to wear on them. The physicality of they're going to get hit on the press and stuff like that, and they're going to be physical with them and try to wear them down. So
he weighed in at 205 the other day, I heard.
205, yeah, yep.
It's nuts.
Crazy. And considering how good he was last year, now he's put on 20 pounds and can really hit and can really come down and stop the run. Yeah, it helps a lot. So let me see if we can get while I'm looking through the comments too, what are your keys? Because this was the question I was going to wrap up. So what do you think Colorado needs to do to win, and what needs to go their way for them to win?
I think a tad bit, they need to put Dylan in pressure. They need to pressurize Dylan in some capacity, whether it's being ballsy in the, sending pressure, putting him in decision-making situations. But this is the thing, though. I've seen him being composed. So I would say that would be the number one thing, sending pressure at Dylan. Because we saw, that's the thing though, when I'm I'm getting flashbacks of the film. I'm like, well, he was in pressure situations. He was, so it seemed like he responded well. Second would be stop the run. If you could take away anything, you want to take away something. It's either you stop the pass or you stop the run for Colorado's defense. So take away one of those and then get the ball out. I would say get some fumbles. Cornerbacks make plays. Travis Hunter needs to have a big game on defense, or not Travis Hunter. The DBs need to have a good game plan going in. Shiloh Sanders is going to be that one high safety. If they stay in that, they're going to have a really long day if they come out the way they did against North Dakota State. And then on offense, just executing. And being able to run the ball when they have to. That would be my number one thing, and no turnovers. So pretty simple. And when you get in field goal opportunities, hit your field goals.
Yeah. And that's one thing I wish we would have got to see a little bit from, see some longer field goals. We got on one page said the shortest field goal make of the week. So we at least won that award, 20 yards. But I would have liked to see just a little bit, maybe a 30-40 yarder just to see, and for them to see that one go through before the high pressure game this coming Saturday. Because again, it's one of those things where last year, I felt like Alvano almost got in his head a little bit, got rattled. But there's another instance here where the offense now can take pressure off of the kickers because they're not reliant on them for our points. We're not as constantly relying on him because we can't score points from our offense. So that's going to be huge. And also the punting game is going to be big time. We're going to need our special teams to step up as well. But I think a lot of kind of what you're alluding to is really, it's just, and I agree with this, as long as Nebraska goes out there and just plays their game, right? And doesn't deviate from that. They don't have to do anything special. They just have to do what they've been practicing to do every single day. And Matt Rule's kind of, I think, been working with them this offseason and kind of getting them in the mindset to, like, you know, these are the type of games where they want to wear on a team and really assert their physicality and their dominance. And I think they really want to come in and really make Colorado, like, feel them after the game, right? Like, they want Colorado walking away from this game like they felt versus Oregon last year, you know. And what's your kind of take on that as well?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a physical game on both ends. I think Colorado is going to come out physical.
Yeah.
They're not going to come out scared. Like, they're not going to come out timid. But the overall thing is that Nebraska is bigger and stronger and more sound, more disciplined, a lot more efficient as an overall team. So using that to your advantage when it's time to get off the field, get off the field. When it's time to line up in the right formation, line up in it. So using that to advantage, I think Colorado. Also, one thing for their offense, I think using tempo for Colorado's offense, I think that would be key, because the only drive that UTEP got things going really was when they started using tempo, right? And so I think with the 3-3-5, there's so many different pieces, so many different like adjustments, lineup, stuff like that. So one way to get them off their game is to line up in tempo, line up in some unbalanced stuff like UTEP did. So yeah, I think it is going to be physical.
Yep. And Jake Tate here. This is a very, like, I hate to call you casual, but this is a very casual comment to compare anything about this season to last season. You know, Colorado has 40 players out, 40 players in. Nebraska has a completely different defense. They were 2 weeks into a brand new 3-3-5 defensive system. And also, that game wasn't on the defense. The defense did their job. After a while, they were just on the field at altitude for a long dang time. And that was a 2-score game up until a few minutes left in the fourth quarter. So they just wore down, and that's why the score looked a lot worse than it is. I know they like to point scoreboard at last year, but scoreboard looked way worse than the game actually was. And that was because Nebraska's defense couldn't get off the field. And the whole game plan for Nebraska to win that game would have been to come in and run the ball. So the defense is a lot different this year. There's a lot more pieces on it. And also there's been a lot more development. It's a whole different animal, and they're stronger. They're more physical. They're faster. They're healthy, you know, for the most part. So it's a completely different defense. So the people that think that, I hope you go into Saturday also, you know, with that mindset, so you can be a little bit surprised and see. So let me give your offense different, but the defense is the same. No, it's the same guy. Never mind. I was like, we got another one like that. Nebraska had several defensive players out last year. Ty Robinson did not play. He's 24, 6'6", 315 against 18-year-old 285.
Oh, he didn't play last year. Is that right?
I shoot, maybe not. I thought he did. Maybe I'm mistaken. That might be worth me looking up here in just a second.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Jake Tate was our offense that lost the game. Can anybody confirm that? I am a casual.
Yeah, can we get a confirmation that Ty Robinson did not play last year against CU?
Yeah. All right. I appreciate Jake admitting he's a casual. Watch a few games here and there. But and then Xavier, y'all be nice to Xavier too, guys. He's just, you know, let's welcome them in if they're trying to be nice. Let's just welcome them a little bit. But yeah, so actually, you know what? I kind of want to look that up before we sign off. I need to look that up. Nebraska Colorado box score real quick. I hate to do this to y'all while I'm live.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think if I feel like I would have seen that.
Yeah, I feel like I would have remembered that too, because that would have been one of my reasonings as to why we lost. I feel like team stats. Let's see, player.
No,
stats.
He did play. I think he did play. I remember Shador he almost got a sack on Shador.
He got two tackles.
Okay,
so maybe
he did
play a lot in that game or something. But either way,
it's okay.
Either way, it's going to be, you know, a whole different animal out there this year. And then that's the reason why Nebraska was, you know, the underdog going into last year's game. They're the favorite going into this year's game. And so, you know, I think we have a lot to be excited about. I feel much more confident in this game this year than I did going into the game last year, because we've seen success. And last year, week 1, we didn't see a lot of success. So And it's just a whole different feel. This entire offseason has been a whole different animal. The staff has got these players, you know, in a completely different culture and fired up. And do you want to make a score prediction at all? I'll ask.
I'll do it.
All right.
38 to 21.
All right. And I'll go. Yeah, I was thinking probably like 35, 21, 35, 24, maybe 35, 17. So, but yeah, I expect Nebraska to win by multiple scores, but it'll be a good test. Like I said before, it'll be a good test for Dylan Raiola to get a chance in prime time, under the lights, in a huge environment, one of the biggest he'll probably ever play in, against a team that Nebraska's favored against. And that's a very good situation for him to be in, that it's not like an Ohio State or something like that. So, but yeah, we're kind of at our hour. So again, Chancellor, man, I appreciate you hopping on, brother. And do you want to tell the people again where they can find your stuff and what you got coming up?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for obviously having me. I enjoy this. If there's any YouTube channel I'm gonna hop on, it's definitely gonna be this one. But yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at ChancellorBrew1, and then YouTube. I'll be uploading tomorrow, kind of going through a lot of the stuff we talked about, just adding the film to it as well. And that will be at Chancellor Brewington official, or just CBrew. And you can find all that. The links in my Twitter. Videos are up and going. The last video is doing pretty well. I appreciate the comments. I see some familiar faces. So yeah, I'm expecting a big game, and I can't wait to see it.
Yep. 42-17, 42-24, 135-3.
There we go, Steve.
We got a Buff fan in here, 34-21. So
I like it. I like it.
I do appreciate the Buffs fan that hopped in here, and we're cool and not disrespectful. I appreciate y'all. It's always a good time.
Sure.
I like talking football with both sides. So, and again, thanks, Chancellor, for coming on. And yeah, everybody, I got a couple more videos coming for this week. I leave town Thursday to go out to the game. So y'all stay tuned for the next couple of videos, but I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.